The following program is an original WWE podcast.
It's a new day. Yes, it is.
Ooh! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first episode of this brand new podcast. New Day. Feel the power. There's a the.
It's actually
beginning
the,
of it.
it's the
It's
new
the-
day.
Is that our?
Yeah, you can't start us off
Yeah, I can.
incorrectly.
That's not.
Well, it's a
that's-
thing.
I mean, that's supposed to be the introduction
Right.
of the podcast.
Yeah.
What? And
Yeah,
I mean,
you
that's
can't-
not-
we
I
can't
didn't- That's not
begin
how I
with-
envisioned
very-
it.
it's-
No, that's not.
It
That
might-
wasn't my
When we
vision
talked
either.
about it, that was not my
That wasn't
business.
my
When did we talk about
vision.
it? When did we talk about
talked
it?
We talked about doing this podcast thing, and
Yeah.
we talked about the name, and I didn't envision it being like that.
I think you should restart.
Like, I think you should restart.
Restart it.
Okay,
Um,
take two.
and
Take two.
take
Take
two.
two. Ready?
Okay.
yeah,
Ready?
yeah.
It's a new day. Yes, it is.
Ooh, ah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this brand new podcast, The New Day. Feel the power.
Wow.
It's weird though, because I don't like saying feel the power. That's you.
SSE's line.
That's you.
Oh, okay,
That's what threw me off.
Then you got to alley it, and I'm open.
Okay, so check it.
All
Check
right,
it. Check
all right,
it. Take three.
Take three.
Take three.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wait. What's Kofi gonna do?
What I do every time. I'm gonna facilitate with the hands. They can't
facilitate.
see it. But
Okay.
know that I'm
Yeah,
moving
let
my
them
hands
make it
around.
sure.
We can only show
Yeah.
so much of this on tape.
Yeah.
It's a new day. Yes, it is.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this brand new podcast. It's called The New Day.
Feel the power.
That's what I'm talking about.
There we go.
baby.
Yeah. Your
That's
ooh
it.
was weird though. Why'd you? Your ooh didn't like.
Your
It
ooh
didn't.
wasn't-
It was ooh, and then it just cut off partially.
Because I had to cough, but I didn't want to cough into the
All right,
microphone.
take four, man. You
All right,
gotta-
take four, take four.
Take four, for real. Get your ooze right. Clear your
Your
throat.
ooh's right, man.
It's a new day. Yes, it is.
Ooh! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this brand new podcast. It's titled The New Day.
Feel the power.
That
was much better.
That's it.
That was much
That's
better.
it. Everybody that's listening, thank you first of all for downloading this and subscribing wherever you get your podcast, because this is going to be something that we do on a regular basis, and we are glad to have your ears listening to our sweet, sultry voices. I am Xavier Woods, aka Austin Creed, aka host of the greatest YouTube channel of all time, aka 1/3 of you boys, the New Day. To my left sits
I am Big E.
Big E or Big E?
Biggie.
Big E. You got to leave that space in there because
Yes.
there's Biggie, obviously.
Yes.
May rest in peace.
Rest.
Which for some reason Cena decides to put my face on his body on his Instagram every
does.
Monday.
Oh, wow.
It's very strange. But yes, as far as superlatives and monikers, I don't know if I have a ton. I'm formerly Biggie Langston.
There you
Wow.
go.
Right,
I was
that
gonna
was
touch
a
on that,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah. I used to be Biggie Langston, but then one day I showed up to work and they said you don't have a last name anymore. But
Yeah,
there's
get rid
there's
of it.
many of us.
Yeah.
You know,
Get
we
rid
should
of
have a club actually. You should. Of people who've lost their names.
LNL, last name's lost.
Last hell and hell.
That's not bad.
You also did lose all that weight, so
You did.
You're still big,
Yeah.
Right,
but you were
just
bigger.
Right, I was.
So then, does the name lose anything, or like
It
is
might actually. It might
used to
lose
be
a little-
bigger, E.
Yeah.
but I'm still big.
I'm still big.
AFE.
Like I
Yeah.
still got
You
it.
know?
But
Big A-
I'm not.
big AF.
Big AFE. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
not at all confusing. right. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah,
And last but not least,
yeah. I am Kofi Kingston. No more, no less.
Okay.
You know.
you said a lot in just 2 words. Kofi Kingston. That says it all.
Speaking of E losing his last name, have you ever been in danger of losing Kingston?
I've never. No, I've
Oh
not.
wow.
I've not.
Like
Although,
Cher, you can just be Kofi.
I was in danger of becoming the King of the Ring at one point, which would have been
In danger?
Well, because then it would have been King Kofi Kingston, which
Yeah.
again, which would not have been a good thing. You know?
Why not?
Well, because of the acronym. Take it from there. Take it from there.
I was like, you want to go down this
know?
road? This is
I
what
know.
we're doing?
I mean,
I was like, you
let's
brought
just
it up.
get
I was
into
like-
it.
I was like,
let's get into it. You know?
Right.
All right, okay. So everybody listening to this for the first time, it's not just going to be nonsense the whole time. We actually have a little skeleton, if you will. We have our friend Emilio Sparks helping us out with this. What up, Emilio? Let the people hear you.
There he is.
What's going on?
Yeah, that's a very New York thing. In case
Yeah.
you didn't know,
Yerp?
the year. Yeah, there's no. It's just year, right? There's no p at the end.
Oh, yeah, yerp.
Yer. Not yerp.
Not your.
Yer.
It's your.
Don't get your
that
mind.
a Baltimore
don't get
thing,
your.
too? Like
Right.
Baltimore.
I don't know the
Yeah,
origins of it. I just know it's a New York thing. So anytime I see somebody that I know in the streets, I'm like, "You're," and they go, "You're back," and that's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Call and response.
Europe?
I like it.
Yer. Y-E-R.
Yer.
Or maybe
That's weird.
Y-E-R-R-R-R-R-R. Yeah.
For those of you who know who we are, appreciate you following us. And those of you who don't, we kind of want to go into a backstory of where each of us was before the New Day. So I'm going to let Kofi start that off.
Oh yeah. I guess I'll start out. I was at a point in my career I was always going to be the guy that came out during a match and happy-go-lucky. I wasn't Jamaican at that time, but I was also a happy-go-lucky guy that would come out
You're
and
just Jamaican when you want to be Jamaican.
pretty much. I mean,
as a son of a Jamaican, that offends me, actually.
Son of a Jamaican.
well,
Yes.
yeah. When I first came to WWE, that was like what got me noticed was like playing this Jamaican character. Even before I got signed, I had a tryout with who was there? Simon Dean, who Nova, Mike Bucci was the head of talent relations at the time. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was there at my tryout. Arn Anderson, Tim Horner, Fit Finley was there.
This is when you were at Chaotic.
This is when I was at Chaotic. You know, they'd never seen a Jamaican character, which again, not to toot my own horn, but it's saying a lot when you have all these legends in the room who have never seen something before and you're able to do something that they've never seen. So I got signed based on that. Everyone's mind was blown. Like, oh, Jamaican character, this is great. Like, I remember Johnny Ace when I came to, it was a SummerSlam that same week. It's like, oh, I heard you do a Jamaican gimmick. Whoa. And everyone was like so excited. I'm like, yeah, I just decided to talk like a Jamaican in promo class. And all of a sudden it was a thing, you know? And the reason I did it was because the Damian Marley album had come out. And at the time, everyone was saying that like to be in WWE, you had to be a character. So I'm trying to think of a character to play. Damian Marley, Welcome to Jamrock comes on. I start singing along with it. I get to the school and then all of a sudden cut a promo on Ric Flair about him stealing my Jamaican beef patty. Eventually I made it to the main roster, had a lot of great moments, you know, title wins. And, you know, for me, this is all that I've ever wanted to do. So to be able to have those accolades was awesome. I was accomplishing my dream, doing everything that I always wanted to do. I thought I was having fun. And then it got to a point where like I would be the happy-go-lucky guy that would come out, have a good match, and end up losing. You know, do some high-flying, unique moves, lose the match. And that was my character and persona. So I was getting like real bored. You know, just really not fulfilled coming into work. Just, you know, I knew what was going to happen. I didn't really know who I was going to face, but I knew what the match was going to be. And then I was approached by Woods and E one day, and they asked me to join this group. They asked me if I was interested in joining a group of guys who like were disgruntled with their positions with the company. And I was like, 100%. And the thing is that we were going to be bad guys. We were going to be heels. Little vernacular, heels.
Putting the air quotes on
For
them right
those,
now.
yeah. And I was all about it because I wanted to have a change in my career, number one. And then number two, to be able to use whatever kind of like, I guess, influence or like veteran status that I had to be able to kind of like help you guys out as
Give
well.
us a rub.
You know, give you the old
Yeah,
rub.
rub on your boys.
If I
Yeah,
could,
you want to rub
you
on
know,
your
go
boys.
ahead and
rub.
Yeah, yeah.
Go
Because
ahead,
like,
bro.
you know, like I said, like everybody's had, I've had like great moments, and I want like my dream is to have everybody in WWE have like great moments, because you always have people who are like here and they're disgruntled with the way things are, and to me that's so sad because this is supposed to be the best job in the world. So anything I can do to like promote that was definitely like my goal. So I was all about it, and then we got into the New Day. And I always say, like, I'm so gracious and fortunate that you guys approached me about doing that, number one, because of where I was in my career, but more importantly, to meet two guys who I consider to be my brothers. It's amazing that we, like, crossed paths in that way, because if you didn't have the idea of forming the New Day, we would have been cool, but we wouldn't have had, like, this. I'm getting goosebumps, you know, like, thinking about it. And I'll probably say that a lot because I'm a Goosebumps guy.
Very, very much Goosebumps guy.
Yeah, I'm just always so appreciative of that, to not only have met two guys to where we actually have like actual fun. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like this, when we got together, that's when I knew that the fun, you know, was real.
Yeah.
I love you guys, man.
Oh,
I love y'all. You know,
love you too.
You know,
E, what you got?
The year was 1986, the day March 1st. Your boy ripped out the womb. I took my little two paws.
Macbeth.
And you can't see this, but I ripped through the womb and I jettisoned out. But you want to skip the earlier years?
No. Well, I mean, whatever you feel is relevant.
Okay, let's skip to when I was 23, the year 2009. Yeah. So we always, and we've told this many times, we do this typically when someone asks about our origin. We tell Kofi's story and Woods' story, and how you guys just were so defiant and always told that you're too small, and just all these obstacles placed in your way. And it's such a great motivational story about never saying quit and pushing through. And then I go last typically, and I tell the story of being some failed meathead football player loser. Just a real loser who strode in with his big popping pecs and said, "Is this where y'all do the wrestling?" And they gave me a job. That's how it went down. That's exactly how it went down. I knew nothing about the business. Sure, I watched as a kid, but I knew nothing. I didn't aspire to do this. I just waltzed in. I waltzed my big pecs in. Yeah, that's it. I need this job y'all got. I need this $500 a week because that's how much it used to be. Yeah, $500 a week. Yeah, that used to get it done. You know, you'd have to find a way to make that work.
Lot of
But anyways, yeah, I was very appreciative of the job. It was startling, isn't the right word. It's jarring to go from an athletic standpoint previously to now becoming a pro wrestler. And one of the most unsettling parts for me was, how do you deal with being in front of an audience in essentially your underwear and like getting their attention, especially when you know nothing about wrestling, when you're just learning. I love when people ask if you get nervous about performing at WrestleMania. There's so many people. And I think across the board, it's easier for us because it's just a sea of people.
Yeah.
What's startling is when you're in Stark, Florida, in front of a dozen people, and no one knows who you are or cares who you are, and you have to somehow entertain them, and you can hear everyone's separate conversations, and you're suddenly aware that you're half naked, and I kind of got these love handles, and I shouldn't be in trunks right now. So that was my early career. But anyways, I was fortunate enough to finally, eventually pick up the business and start to kind of understand things. I got to NXT, and the very first match in Full Sail history that no one will ever see besides the people in that arena was me versus Javier Woods.
What a match. What a match. Who won that match?
I think it was a 3-minute dark match.
Who won that match?
Don't worry about all that.
Who won that
See,
match?
No one asked.
The people
that.
won that match.
yeah, that's right. The people. But that was not a strange episode, but it's interesting to be there for the beginning of NXT and trying to find your footing.
Yeah.
I remember we just did all squash matches for like three
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah.
Because you try to get people off the ground and try to figure out who are the stars. But anyways, this is I need to gloss over the NXT version.
We'll get into this.
But I found the 5 count, and that worked well for me. I didn't find it; it was given to me, and it worked really well. Let's gloss over that.
Job given, 5 count given.
Take one, yeah.
New day given.
Yeah, I worked real hard
What I
to be
did
here.
if you had.
Let's come back to that. But anyways, I spent a good year and a half on the main roster, floundering. And I think it was kind of across the board with all three of us, we were floundering, I think is the best way to put it. I always felt like all three of us were very talented, but before the New Day, we were doing next to nothing.
Yeah, IC title run.
I had the IC title run, but it didn't really go that well. And then I ran into Wade Barrett, who almost ruined my career because he was this real hot heel at the time, super hot with the
bad news.
I've got
Barrett.
some bad news. And he used to come with that scissor lift. Bro, the scissor lift was great.
And the hammer.
And I
the
love
gavel.
Wade. I love Wade, and I miss him. He's great in the locker room, too.
man.
But he just would absolutely bury me.
I just remember the boring. He'd be up in the scissor lift, 30 feet in the air, just
Golly.
berating whoever's in the
Yeah,
ring.
I remember
And then
that.
you couldn't do anything because he's so high in the air.
The worst one was a SmackDown with Miz and
Yeah.
Brodus.
Oh, my
And they're out there
God.
just trying, and they're also not really plugged into anything at the time, so no one really cares about this match. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but no one really cared. And they have this short little match. He comes out during the match, and he's just on the scissor lift,
So
just
high.
heckling them.
Do some of that dancing that you do.
Do some of that dancing you do.
Boring.
Golly.
I'm
Sorry.
getting the wrap up signal anyway, but this is a very long. I love so many elements of this story, but we got to get through it. Anyways,
We'll
I
come
was
back to
floundering
it.
at the time, and then the New Day came along. We skipped so much. Let's come back to that. Let's come back to it. I was getting long winded.
Oh, okay. So I'll recap. So Kofi, killing it. Tons of title victories, tag team champion, US champion, IC champion, killing it. Everybody loved Kofi. E came on the roster, killing it with Dolph. Hammer fisted AJ Lee in the chest that one time.
Let's move on. Let's not talk about that, man.
Talk about
That was the worst moment of my career.
Was killing it as IC champ. For me, I came from Georgia, wrestled in the independents, was in TNA for a little bit, got released from TNA, wrestled at New Japan for like one shot, and then got signed right before I left, so I couldn't say the whole time. Anyway, I'm in WWE 2010. everybody's telling me constantly, oh, you got to do something to differentiate yourself because, like, we already have a Kofi. We have a Kofi. And so in the story that Kofi was telling, us coming to Kofi was actually one of the harder things for me to do because my whole career tried to separate myself from Kofi because I was always told, okay, we have a high-energy black guy. You need to be something completely different. And when I made it to the main roster, I wasn't doing anything. I got put into an angle with Brodus Clay where I eventually stole his theme music and then the Funkadactyls. And it was just weird because it was kind of like the gimmick had kind of run its course, and then they tried to give it to me. But in the backstories of the Funkasaurus, when Bray was given to Brodus tried to convince him to give it to me because we'd run these practice matches so they could figure out how he's going to do all these dancing moves. And they made us do them 4 weeks in a row because every time we sent a match, they said, oh, no, Woods is like doing this better than you. Because that was my thing at the time. Right, yeah. And Brodus is like, well, they give it to him. So long story short, he gets the Funkasaurus thing. Once it runs its course, they go, oh, here, you can have this. And it's like, wait, after you guys milked it for all the money with the merchandise, everything you could do with it in the ring, everything you could do with it backstage, now I get it. Thanks. But legitimately, at the same time, thank you, because it was an opportunity to be on TV and like minutes or money. And then was R-Truth's friend. That's how I debuted places. That's how I debuted in TNA as R-Truth's friend.
Yeah, that's right.
I debuted here as R-Truth's friend. So I was doing nothing. We had a handicap match with Rusev where Rusev beat me up before he had the match with Truth. So like literally nothing. And I just got mad. That was the night that I got upset. And I went into the writer's room and was like, hey, I want to do like a weird Nation of Domination thing.
What always popped me was, so we all talked. It was supposed to be the new Nation of Domination.
No, not when I first brought it to you. That was what I said in the writer's room thing.
Right.
But then that's not the idea that I went with the three of us.
What was it with the three of us? I
Just
thought
guys?
it was militant.
It was disgruntled. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like the difference between like us and the Nation was that we weren't promoting any kind of like, racial anything. It was just legitimately being like.
I thought we were kind of dancing around it. We were kind of using thinly veiled.
I was not.
I think it was
was.
aggressive. I don't know. Yeah.
So I can understand there may be like shades of it because our shade is brown.
Right.
And so people were like, oh man, it's a Nation Domination. I was like, you never called the Y, it's the Godwins.
Right.
And that's like the same thing.
And then I think when people started trying to like label it, we took it upon ourselves to be like, no, you don't get to tell us what it is.
Exactly.
Right.
We're going to make it into whatever we want it to be, and kind of like took ownership of it that way.
The Nation thing is the first thing that you pitched, but then I think you got on Twitter a few times and you would just angrily respond to people that dared to think this was the new Nation of Domination.
Yeah, that's the first thing that I said when I like the incarnation.
But they didn't know
this. Exactly. Exactly. If you've only seen what has been presented on this table, this smorgasbord of greatness, and then you're like, oh, Nation.
How dare you make that?
Well, I don't know if it was great at the time.
Well,
to
me, it was all I had.
Yeah, that's
it had to be great. It was all I had.
It's a new day. Yes, it is.
So I sat and thought about it for a few weeks, and that's when I realized this idea that we had in development called the Plan. It was the People's Liberation of American Nationalism. It was me, E, Saxton, and Abe Washington. The New Day is kind of an evolved thought of that, but it was essentially people who were not happy with their position in the company and wanted more from themselves and from their job. And so that's when I went and talked to E about it, and we kind of shot a bunch of different things and pre-tapes and kicking back and forth ideas, and that's when it really hit me. Like, none of this is really clicking. None of it is really working. And I was like, I think we need a third person for this to actually work. And he's like, who? And I was like, I think we need to get Kofi. For me, like I said, it was like, this is either going to absolutely destroy my career or it's going to be the best thing ever. So that's when we went and talked to you, and you were down, and then that's when the hustle started.
Do you remember that conversation? I remember it like yesterday. I was sitting on a crate, and then when you guys came up and you started having the conversation with me, everything just like kind of clicked. That was what I wanted. That was the change that I was looking for, and yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to like cut you off.
No.
That's just got like a flashback of it, like me sitting on that crate and you guys both coming up to me and explaining this whole idea, and then just like, we can make this work,
But I remember having a conversation with you, Woods, beforehand. You were all in on Kofi. My only reservation was I thought we needed to be heels for it to work.
Yeah.
And I thought they will never turn Kofi heel. He's the Ricky Steamboat. It's actually how I think people from The Office described you. He's a babyface his entire career. He's just that, and in a good way.
Right.
And consummate babyface.
Right. That's how people described you.
Right.
So that was my reservation. And honestly, to backtrack a little bit, you talked about your handicap match with R-Truth against Rusev. That was Extreme Rules 2014.
Jeez.
And yeah, it's shocking. And the only reason I remember that is because that was the same night that I dropped the IC title to Wade Barrett. It's wild to me how all the pieces came together separately, because at the time I was told from producers that The Office thought that I was boring. That's something that they wanted me to try. Like at one point, one of the producers told me, hey, can you juggle? Or they legit wanted me to juggle. I suppose have a match and then bust out some juggling.
It's a celebration.
They also asked me if I wanted to do some peck dancing, which is it's kind of funny now because it's a peck dance just to pop myself.
But
at
if
the
they
time,
ask you,
no,
if someone asks you, then
same
it's
thing,
messed up.
right. Like when we see something in the script like says, oh, this is the point where they get on the table and dance. I'm not doing this. What do you mean? How dare you write in that we dance on a table? So the pieces really aligned for me. And that same day, I was actually told by Road Dogg that, hey, you need to get into pre-tapes and work on some stuff because it seemed like they liked me, but essentially the message was we have nothing for you and you're going to drop the IC title and you're pretty much on your own. So you need to get in there and just try some stuff. So I remember I got in there with Road Dogg and with Dave Kapoor and we just tried some stuff. And that was when the Preacher voice was born, actually, because I was just throwing different promo styles at the wall and I was really didn't want to do the preacher voice because I came up in the church and I didn't want to be blasphemous or disrespectful. But I said, I just got to try something here. And I actually told Road Dogg that, look, hey, I don't want this to be disrespectful by any means, but this is something that I was raised in. This is something I know. But it boggles my mind how we were all in separate places, but also in the same space as far as floundering in our career and knowing that we needed something.
Yeah, it was kind of the perfect storm of things. And so from having that conversation with Kofi and him accepting doing this with us, things got super, super weird for like 7-8 months. There was a guy who used to work here by the name of Michael Notarali, and so yeah, he's our fourth member. So he was technically my writer because he was supposed to be in charge of me and my stuff, my transition from NXT to the main roster. Even before I started talking to E about stuff, I'd always talk to him, and I was making vignettes on my own, sending them to him, like, I don't know, maybe like 2 or 3 different characters, like a week it felt like, just making different videos, hoping something would stick, and not really getting any sort of like positive feedback from higher ups on what I was doing. So I was like, okay, well, I'll keep trying something new. But then when I told him about this idea with E and Kofi, everything kind of clicked, and we put all of our chips into that. And so it'd be the 4 of us constantly at TV, just off in a corner, and people would come by and just like make fun of us for always being together. Like, oh, what are you guys even working on? What are you doing? And then once it kind of came to the formation that, oh, they're trying to start a group, that's when more people started coming and ragging on us. Like, Kofi didn't get dumped on. We got dumped on. Me
Talking
and
about Big Show?
Yeah.
We give credit to Big Show because he was the one person who apologized.
The only one.
Actually, he's the only one who apologized. Big Show said some terrible things to me and Woods and how Kofi was wasting his time with us. We're
It wasn't
bringing
even
him
to
down.
you. It was to me, but you guys are standing
We're
right there. So, like,
and it wasn't a joke, really. And this is a desperate. It's not the time for jokes either. We're all trying to get our careers off the ground. The fact that you would meet so much resistance by trying to better yourself and try to improve your career is wild to me because there was, so, like you said, in so many different facets, from talent to backstage people. There's so many people who, and a lot of it we heard behind our backs, but thankfully
We have ears everywhere.
yeah.
varies.
And I think one of the best, like Mikey's, like, you know, still one of my closest friends for sure. And all 3 of us, we have a very close relationship with. And one of the best things I think with our relationship was understanding the process, because he was a writer, and in the meetings, we got to better understand when to pitch, when to go to talk to Vince, like to get a better temperature of the room, because that's one of the things that I wish more talent had a better understanding of, is how the creative process works, because it's such a massive body as far as the creative team is concerned, but there's so many different tiers. They're like the entry-level writers, they're the senior writers, they're producers, and you don't really know who to go to. And oftentimes you get so much feedback in the meetings that never actually gets to you.
Right.
So I didn't find out that the office thought I was boring, or that I needed something until it was too late in the eyes of the people who mattered as far as booking is concerned. And that's one of the things that I always wish worked better in this machine, is that you had more instant feedback from creative, that you got an opportunity to talk to the decision makers and say, hey, this is where we see a deficit in your character, in your work, or whatever it is, and so that we can all address that. And that's one of the things that was really eye-opening working with Mike.
And like, we're real lucky to have someone like Mike too, because even in terms of like pitching ideas, right? Sometimes an idea can live and die based on the passion that's behind it. Now we pitch all of our own stuff, but back then Mike would be pitching something and he would pitch things passionately, where not every writer has that ability. You know, people are intimidated by Vince, or intimidated to like pitch something with confidence, or in the culture of kind of crapping on everything, they'll pitch it with a little bit of cynicism, and all of a sudden, everyone's laughing at us, and you're supposed to be the person who's supposed to like be, lifting your superstar up. And we're so lucky to have had Mike, who believed in us, and pitched things passionately, and then also like when to pitch certain things, or like how you put the language that you use around what you pitch it, because you say one red flag word or whatever it is, and all of a sudden the whole thing is done. So just having that insight is so beneficial.
Yeah. One thing that I learned from one of my buddies is that the way that wrestlers pitch stories, the end always is, and then I win the title. And so always tried to make sure that was never anything that we ever talked about.
Yeah.
But through this whole process, to be able to sit and formulate these ideas, and it was always something weird. Like we never, obviously, eventually we did, but I feel like in the beginning we obviously didn't know what it was going to be or what it was going to grow into. It's always been an evolving thing, even now. So like, Props was talking to me today, like, hey, when are you switching off pancakes? I was like, I don't know, something has to happen.
Right.
Like pancakes just happen, cereal just happen. But even in the vein of finally getting in and talking to Vince and filming those vignettes and showing him.
I always felt, and I think we always felt, that it's a lot easier for him to see this, just to see a 30-second backstage or a promo and see exactly how this could fit onto my show, as opposed to maybe the image that we all have in our head is different than if we're just describing it to him, it might not be the same. Yep. So we spent a lot of time, man. I remember during the period of pitching, I felt like every day we were home, a lot of that time was consumed with texting each other, with emailing each other, which is honestly, I'm so glad we emailed each other, because recently when we decided to talk about all this stuff for the podcast, we forgot so much. We forget this is 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So much, especially the list.
Actually, there's a couple different lists of names, and I think we've compiled them all, and so many that we forgot that we'll eventually get to for the trio. But it always felt like it was just better to show him this is what this is going to look like, this is what these promos are going to sound like, as opposed to just telling him, hey, these are the ideas, and because it's just so up in the air, and who knows if he sees things differently.
Well, that's a Dusty thing that he would teach us in promo class when we were in FCW, was, so a new horror movie's coming out. I could tell you about it, but you might want to see it after that. But if you watch the trailer, my God, you're going to love it. He's like, make trailers. And it's like, wow. Okay, so that's what we were doing. Yeah. And we made one called The Problem Solvers, because we're like, well, what can this be? Like, how can this be a babyface thing? And so we were essentially solving people's problems. So like, there was a clip where somebody was like smoking a cigarette, he smacked it out of his mouth and gave him a banana instead. So I got to find that, and we can.
Yeah, it was real lighthearted, but that was even after we did for several months, I think, of doing the more militant stuff. So we did the militant stuff, and then he who shall not be named decided that this is not the direction I want. So he wanted something with some more levity. That's why we went to the Problem Solvers and did that for a bit.
Everybody that we showed absolutely loved it. Finally, week after week after week after getting in here and doing this, the office told us, sit, wait. We're gonna get back to you in a few weeks, and we'll have something. So, okay, cool. So a few weeks passes, we get called back into the office, and say, okay, we got it. You guys are gonna be preachers. And it was like, oh, because when we first came into the meeting, we said, hey, there's 3 archetypes in wrestling for black wrestlers. You're either the big strong black guy, which was E. You're either the foreign black guy, which at one time was Kofi, or you're the dancing black guy, which was me. And those are the 3 characters that black guys and girls have. And we want to make sure that we are none of those, because we want to make something new and make sure that kids understand that you can be whatever you want, regardless of shape, color, race, gender, whatever. And then we were told, you guys will be preachers. And we're like, that kind of...
you didn't hear what we said at all.
But to kind of address this point too, we were told, we had the meeting, it was just the 4 of us in a room with he who shall not be named. and we were told, guys, I'm sorry for all the months of the back and forth. I got it. I finally got it. It hit me like a bolt of intuition. This is the idea. And we're all sitting there just because we don't know. We're all sitting there. I got it. You're preachers. You're inspirational speakers.
My God.
Yeah. And then we're all kind of like doing our best to say.
But we're looking at each other like,
but what can you say when because it wasn't, you after pitching with him for a while and talking to him, you have an understanding of when there's some flexibility.
Exactly.
And when maybe there's some push-pull here, or when he's like, nope, this is the idea, and you better find a way to make this work. Right. So when he told us, I have an idea for vignettes and all that, it was, this idea is not good, but we have an opportunity.
And so to hear that we're preachers, we're like,
I'll never forget that.
This is going to be harder than we thought.
And that was the point. We had been traveling together for every weekend, talking on text or whatever, 5 months straight, really had our connection. So we're all sitting there like smiling and nodding at Vince for the opportunity, but we can all hear each other in our heads like, no, this is never gonna work. What are you doing? Preachers, no. And we're just smiling and nodding like, yep, we'll take the opportunity, Vince. Like the biggest contrast in what was happening.
First, we got music. This music was the oldest. This was gospel from the 1730s.
Horrible.
It was
Horrible.
It was so old and bad, and just like we heard it and like, no, you know what? Maybe we gotta listen to it like in the car. So we plugged it into the car, turn the bass
not
up all the
better.
way.
Yeah, that
like
didn't help.
maybe with headphones on. Put the headphones on, turn the bass up all the way. This
I remember that too.
this is not working, not helping. And so I remember this vividly because you guys were doing something and the office wanted to talk to us. And so, but I was the only one available. So they just brought me in and like, hey, what do you think about the music? And I was like, still at the time, just like, and he's like, what do you think? And I was like, he goes, honest answer. And I was like, this is the worst. He's like, well, what do you mean? What would you guys do? And that's when I pulled up Stomp.
Yeah.
We let
Frankly.
him listen to
Yeah.
Stomp.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
if we're gonna
yeah.
do gospel stuff, it's like it needs to be like this. Like people like this. He's like, oh, okay, cool. And then what was it like 2 weeks later, a week later?
Yeah.
we had
Jim Johnson
the
shuffled
Jim
it up.
Johnson
music.
chefed it up,
Jim
cooked
Johnson,
it up.
my
5-course
Lord.
meal.
What a human. So we have what is our current music, and so I remember the office going up there and being so excited. Okay, we got the music. We got the music, and it's us four and Road Dogg in there. And as the music comes on, we're like, oh, okay. And then he's tapping his foot,
Is
just
tapping,
dancing.
and it's so loud. It was
so
so
blessed.
loud.
I had to bite my bottom lip
Bro.
because I thought it was a joke.
You never seen Vince McMahon dance like this.
He who shall not be named.
Oh,
We can't-
oh,
you keep
sorry,
saying it.
sorry.
Don't name him.
Sorry.
All the editing.
Yeah, the guy. You've never seen this man dance like this. You've never seen him. It was incredible.
So that was a very good, lighthearted moment. So at that point, we had the music and we were feeling good about it. We went and did the vignettes and we felt pretty good about them because the production value was high on them. We had a bunch of people there. Like it was fun. It was good.
was fun.
And so sitting at TV, watching them finally be played, and then like going on the internet and watching everyone just trash. Not everyone. Watching some people just trash. Like because mine was first.
Yeah.
And so they're like, okay, we could see this. Like he does dancing stuff. This might actually like be something for him. And then they showed yours. They go, oh no, they're putting E with Woods. He's done. He's done. And then the next week, Kofi's like, no, don't put Kofi with them. We can save
So
Kofi
many
still.
people. Oh my God.
I was like, I feel like the internet saw me as like the anchor, just bringing the ship down. Like this guy hasn't done a thing. He'll never amount to anything. No.
Oh man.
And so finally when we came out, and we got pyro though.
We did
which
get
was
pyro,
a huge win
yes.
for me.
The sprinkling.
Yeah.
Part.
That's my favorite
Real
pyro.
deal.
That was on my list to scratch off. When we're going
whole
through the
thing.
entrance, we're being told you got to clap bigger,
Gotta clap,
higher,
clap up
hands
here.
higher, jump around.
Micromanagement. Just awful.
With these entrances, they're telling us clap higher, jump over here, jump over there. We're like,
Unbelievable.
what is
What are we
happening? Like,
doing?
they're not gonna feel the energy if the hands aren't up above your head clapping.
Clap up like this.
It was-
and the people that are telling, I mean, not for nothing, the people that are telling us to like clap and like have rhythm don't really have that much rhythm themselves. With the exception of Road Dogg. Road Dogg
Yeah,
got a little
you
rhythm,
gotta
but at the
love it.
same
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
like no one's no one cares how high we clap.
Yeah.
Don't tell me to like come down and clap and you know what I'm saying? Put my hands way over my head and like, come
But
on,
it
man.
was so micromanaged. It was legit. Hey, at this point, I think you should go to the back of the ring. You
Oh,
stand
yeah.
here while you take that corner. It was so micromanaged. And then remember when they, I was like, this is bad enough. And then remember they added the mics.
Oh my God. And then we're like, how are we supposed to clap? We got these mics in our hand and we're
Exactly.
supposed to talk and clap.
So when we were trying to figure out our entrance, we figured out how we want to do our entrance on house shows. So we'd come out, we'd all pose, wrestling pose,
Yeah.
go down the ramp, and then whoever wasn't wrestling would stop the other two, and we would do this. Oh, this is so stupid.
It was, but I
What are we
thought it was
doing?
hot at the time.
I
Me
know,
too, to be
yeah.
honest.
All of us
That's a good
did.
idea, yeah.
So let's say I'm not wrestling. We would do this. We get to the end of the ramp and say, do it for the day.
Yeah, I ain't gonna do it.
Do it for the day.
I ain't gonna do it.
Do it for the day.
I ain't gonna do it.
And then turn around and like,
Because
Yeah.
that was a vine.
That
That
was
was,
a-
it was what was it? Do it for the
Do it for the vine.
Do it for the vine. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it just now.
Ooh,
years
nah,
later,
it
it's
I
fine.
gotta watch it back. It might be hot.
No, don't watch it.
Because there's a picture of us, and you're not wrestling, and you're like about to send us off, and Kofi and I are like running to the ring.
Mid-sprint.
It's okay. So we had
We were
all
trying
that.
things.
We were.
You
Yeah,
know,
we were.
yeah.
But I think going back to your point about the house shows and live events, I'm so thankful. For some reason, Hayes agreed to months before when we were trying to do the pitching process. I think that's what really made the bond solidified.
100%.
Was the fact that we got we're going to Kalamazoo and all these little towns we're going to. We're getting time in the car. We always rode together. We're getting time in the car to talk about ideas, to pitch ideas, to talk about new gear, to talk about what we want to wear. This is when we had time during live events beforehand. We'd go out to a store and buy whatever little props we needed to shoot stuff. I think that time was integral because not only did we get to build our chemistry outside of the ring, but we got to build it in the ring too. We got the opportunity to do so many. We just do random tags, so we got to work together a lot and build. So by the time we actually got to November and debuted, we were hitting the ground running. It wasn't us trying to figure out, hey, what do we do here? We got that bonding time, and it's so hard to remember because I remember we got on TV together in July, but we were doing stuff together before then on house shows, right?
Yes.
So I can't even remember. I know it was around May where we
Had to be
talked.
Extreme Rules.
Yeah.
And I think it was
Like,
shortly
shortly
after
after
May,
Extreme Rules.
we just went to Hayes and I said, hey, can we get booked as a trio? We want to be together as a tag.
And then coincidentally enough, you and I were also booked as friends on TV. So we'd come out and have random tag matches
Right.
with each other, like that Battle Royal. You know, we ended up doing some collaborative stuff. So
Tampa.
Yeah. So that bond was already
But
put on
that's
TV.
but that's only because we shoehorned it. Thanks to Mike, we
Yeah.
talked to Mike and say, how can we get this idea together? And we know a lot of times on WWE TV, if you can find a way to put something on TV, we can go the next week in the meeting and say, hey, well, they were together and they were a tag team. So we're like, at least let's get me and Kofi off the ground. And I think it started where I had a match with Cesaro. Cesaro beat me up, and then you cut a promo, like one of those box promos, and you talked about my friend Big E. How dare you beat up my friend Big E? And that was before we started tagging. So it was just us. It was these weekly struggles and fights to not build this whole faction, but let's take one step.
Yeah.
Let's build a connection between me and Kof, and then we can eventually get to the three of us. So it was these little micro battles on a weekly basis of let's just find a way to get this one line about Big E being my friend into a Kofi promo, and then the next week we can say, hey, he said this, now they can tag together. So it was just these little fights every single week for months and months and months. And sometimes we won, sometimes we got the opportunity, and then sometimes we had stuff shut down. We had to go back to the drawing board. But that process, however long that was, of half a year or longer of pitching.
Yo, at theater.
Oh,
God, I
man.
thought
this
about
is,
that.
This is going to
It's-
end up being 5 hours of thinking about all the things. You're right, but that was at theater was a big
huge.
part
That's
of our
huge.
connection.
That is the only. Okay, so before New Day even started, before the idea of the three of us even started to come to be, I would do stuff on .com. So at the time, they had that second screen thing where you could be in the app watching the second screen, like during commercials and stuff like that, and just like throughout the show. And so many times, for months, I feel like I'd always be at .com because I was on the shows. I was like, I want to do something. So I'd go and like interview people. I'd just talk about the show, do whatever I could to be on some form of WWE programming. And so then eventually, once we started doing all this, and that's when we started doing skits. So if you go back, there's one where we're in a hallway with Saxton. So we're not a team yet at that point. We're starting to interact with people. We would do like old promos from back in the day as those characters. E and I did Goldberg's entrance because Goldberg was coming back. So like I'm wearing a security shirt, playing Goldberg's music as we're walking through. Were you Big Show and I was Big Boss Man?
You were Big Boss Man.
I was definitely Big Boss
You were
Man.
Big Boss Man, yeah.
We redid the promo where Big Boss Man took Big Show's dad's corpse in a casket. It's like, wah, wah, my daddy, wah.
Yeah.
So there's so many. There's more things.
So many.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming up on our time. We are being told to wrap it up because we talk too much, and we have been given
The deep squat.
deep
Emilio
squat.
Emilio
Yeah,
came
Emilio
over in a
Sparks.
real deep squat. He came over
Like
in a
a
deep
catcher.
squat. That was the sign that we're done, that he wants us to move on. He was
Look at him. Look at him.
Get low.
That's
Wow.
the wrap up sign.
Wow. Oh, that is.
Bouncing it.
Yeah.
He's
Wrap it up.
saying wrap it up.
Make sure you follow us on our socials. Mine being at Xavier Woods PhD on Twitter and Instagram, and you can use the hashtag NewDayPod to talk about what you're hearing in your ear holes right now.
And I'm at WWE Biggie on Instagram and on Twitter. But per usual, I don't need your follows. You think I need you to follow me? You think I need that? You think I lay awake, rolling around at night, tossing and turning about your lack of follow? No, I don't need it. And per usual, if you follow me, unfollow me because I don't appreciate you. I don't. Cope?
See, I should have gone second. You can't follow me if you choose to at True Kofi on the Twitter and at the True Kofi on Instagram.
And a little more from me, check me out at Up, Up, Down, Down without the O's. And you can catch me twitch.tv/Austin Creed. But if you want to give some love to this podcast, going to tell you something.
Choose your preferred streaming service, how you like to hear the sweet, dulcet tones of our voice. Yeah, hit subscribe. Give us a 5-star review. How many stars is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Give your boy 5 stars on Apple Podcasts to help get the word out.
And if you got an Android, you can follow The New Day, Feel the Power on Spotify, Stitcher, Pandora, Google Podcasts. That way, you never miss an episode.
Don't miss one.
Keep on listening, because next time, what we have for you is a gift. You want to tell them what that gift is, E?
Oh, it is the list of names. I believe we have over 60 potential names that we were given prior to being called The New Day. We didn't know what we wanted to be called. And The Office, in their infinite wisdom, came up with a list of just doozies. I remember the first time getting these lists. There's 2 separate lists. And boy.
Boy.
You know what? As a
don't even
little
wanna
teaser,
get in-
can we give them 2 names?
2 names
Give
from the list?
them
2?
2 names.
Do
2
we?
names.
Shall we?
Should we?
2 names from the list.
I don't want to give away the best ones now.
One.
You pick one and Kofi pick one.
Okay, I'll pick one. The Beat. BEAT.
Like that song?
Come on, man.
We got the beat.
What are we doing?
got the
What are we
beat.
doing? And
got, Kofi?
number 2, Million Man Ministry.
No, that's not
Get
real.
them! Get out of
We'll see
here!
you next time. Thank you for joining us.
On The New Day.
Yeah, feel the power.
See you guys later.
This has been an original WWE podcast.